Thank you for joining us on this week's edition of the program, Platform. On Platform today we have, let me say, a big catch, because he is one person that is in charge of documentation and research at the governor's office in Plateau State. And research is a very, very important tool in development. You have to get data, you have to measure it, you have to check for outcomes and how to address issues. So it's a lot of things that happens in that office. My name is GOVT, and I'm privileged to have here Honorable Sam GODONGS. He's the Director General, Research Documentation, Government House. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, let me congratulate you on your appointment, because this is the first time we're having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the mandate of your office, so that people understand clearly what your office is expected to do and how it impacts on governance.
Yeah. Thank you. And just to give a line answer on what the Directorate of Research is all about, is like the place for groundwork, so that informed decisions are taken. So whatever it will help government to take informed decision, to be conscious of the facts before taking that decision or before pushing for the implementation of a policy or a law, it is our duty to provide the ground baseline information to gauge the opinion, to gauge the understanding, the impact, the feedback. So it's just like giving government a solid ground for its actions and policies.
How much work goes into this? Because from what you have said, it's not easy.
At all. In terms of what the quantum of work, is like you are everywhere and you should remain everywhere. All the MDAs come under our purview. All the agenda of government is our mandate. So wherever government is interested, that is where research focus is. And therefore, it is government that defines per time what is required and what is needed.
When you said everywhere, I remember a network provider who said everywhere you go, they are there.
Yeah,
and it's also like spirits.
Yeah. I'm not a spirit, at least you can see me.
We can see you, but then you have to synthesize and get the information from different places.
Yes.
Yes, it's quite interesting that you have this kind of work, and it's important that people know that a lot of work is gone into policy.
Absolutely.
A lot of work is gone in before programs come on board. And the time is now slogan. What time? What time? What is it? What does it mean? What is the idea behind the time is now?
Yeah, thank you very much. And again, I think it's very important for citizens and the public to be aware of this mantra. The time is now stems from the understanding of where we are as a people, as a state. It is also a function of what we need to do, the mission that is required to take us to where we are headed. Plateau, we are armed with our historical antecedents. We are aware of what the Plateau struggle is all about. We need to know, from historical accounts, we need to know what Plateau stands for. We need to know where we are in terms of even infrastructure. We need to know the thinking, per time and where we are headed. So the time is now, requires that appreciation of the background and the present aspiration and the future goals that, are set ahead of the state. We need to know that there is no appropriate time other than now to begin to do things rightly. Due process, due consultations, due planning, and effective implementation. The time is now. We cannot continue to lag behind. We cannot afford to waste precious resources. We cannot afford to be careless and indulge in wastages. The time to change the narrative around the plateau struggle is now.
It may also suggest that,
Yes.
previously things were not done well, or right, so to say. We have had emancipation, we
Yes.
have had re-engineering, we have had redemption,
Yes.
and now we have had the last one, change, rescue. It would seem to suggest that the time is now, is looking back and saying, oh, this ones didn't work. And what is it with, the slogans have, it doesn't matter when you have slogans or just go into governance and do it.
No, I don't think we are passing a vote of failure on past regimes. I don't think that is the orientation of the time is now. The time is now wants to appreciate those things that were done well and then build on them. And where things were not done right, to right it. Where things were, a little milestone was made, you build on it and improve and push forward. In fact, certain things have been done right from the days of J.D. Gongo. The basic foundation for the plateau struggle, was sufficiently consolidated during J.D. Gongo to give us an identity, to give us a focus. The basic infrastructure of PPC, NTA, what later transformed to become NTA and then PRTVC, all these things were laid.
University of Jos.
University of Jos, and you can name them. So certain things were right. Basically, the plateau spirit, the plateau aspiration, the plateau struggle has been for liberty, for expression, for recognition. So understanding the time is now requires us to use what has been laid and what is still useful and forge ahead.
Well, let's come back to something that happened recently with the government.
Yes.
Every government seems to have a retreat after being elected, putting the foot soldiers in place.
Yes.
And the retreat was held recently at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies.
Yes.
I'm happy that it's done within the state, because sometimes it's done outside the state.
Yeah, it's
and
costly.
It affects resources and tourism aspect of it. Onboarding.
Yes.
Are you onboarding a ship, a train,
Very well.
a plane? And from where to where?
That's correct. I like your analytical mind. Onboarding is coming, all the component elements of this government ought to be recruited and organized, before the flight takes off, the aeroplane taxis around the tarmac.
But it took off on the 29th.
Yes, but were all the commissioners appointed on the 29th? Some of us were not there. The captain was sworn in and inaugurated on 29 years, but you find out that all the other elements were not there on the 29th. So it expresses that that congregation, that selection, that empaneling of the administrative machinery of the government. So onboarding, the picture you are conjuring is correct. You are coming in, people are picked from different locations, and then once the ship is full, we take off.
Is it a Titanic?
Well, it's not a Titanic, but in our context, the governor needs his lieutenants, the governor needs his foot soldiers, to use your words. The governor needs, representatives and delegated officers all over the place. There are at least 20 ministries in the state. MDAs are about 99. Departments, commissions, boards, agencies. we need to fill in the blank in all these places so that together the team will then begin to move. The time is now mantra.
We have 20, you said 20 ministries, but we have 19 commissioners.
Yeah, you know, there are, if you remember in Plateau, we used to have a commissioner for solid minerals. We used to have commissioner for special duties. All those things, you know, are being examined more. So it's not a problem. You didn't even ask of special advisors, special assistants are still coming on board.
Perhaps it's also the
Yes.
issue of cost-cutting measures in
Very
governance. Okay, he had also said earlier, I've heard him severally say, not everybody will be appointed.
Very well.
And it means we may see fewer appointments in the coming days because of the fact that cost of governance is an issue in Nigeria. And how committed is this government to reducing cost of governance?
That's why you see his approach to appointments have been piecemeal. He recruits people according to need. Until he's convinced, until he's sure, then he looks for the requisite hands and minds that will have handled that. You don't recruit before you determine what those people will do. You know, he is very circumspect. He is careful. He is diligent. He wants to place round pegs in round holes.
Okay, back to my question earlier, part of the question you
Yes.
don't answer. They have boarded now.
Yes.
What is the destination?
The
What
destination.
how is the driving going to be, or the flight?
The vision.
Is it a turbulent flight? Is it people who can also navigate
I
well?
don't know that you are a pilot, but sincerely, the vision of the time is now mantra. Is the vision of Plateau functioning, Plateau working for all, Plateau working for all. In the domain of the economy, it should work for all. In the domain of fiscal infrastructure, a holistic but systematic approach should guide our acquisition of infrastructure, particularly roads of all grades. Government is committed to building infrastructure, particularly roads, dams, you know, and educational infrastructure, you know, health infrastructure, all over the place. Even commerce and industry has markets as their part of their infrastructure. A holistic view of the state is taken, yet a systematic approach and implementation is required, you know, over time to give us the goal we need.
I'm sure every government knows it has a timeline, 4
Yes.
years, from May 29 to 2023,
Yes.
May 29, 2027. This is the duration of each administration here, apart from those with off-season elections.
Yes.
And in those 2 or 4 years, are there timelines attached to implementation of programs and policies so that at the end of the day, people are not said, oh, we didn't have time to do it. And for every administration we have seen, even at the federal down to the state, that's always the issue. We didn't have time. But before coming into office, you know, a tenure of 4 years is what each government has. Are there timelines for implementation of policies and programs?
Exactly. That is why the retreat was necessary in the first place. With the executive arm fully furnished, fully in place now, the tall order on every MDA is now, you know, our appetite. There are basically 3 domains of priority: the economy, fiscal infrastructure, and good governance. Now, every MDA must see itself within these 3 domains. What must we do immediately? What must we do in the medium term? What must we do in the long term? The long term here is the 4 years. So every commissioner is now charged, you know, to respond to the planning needs of that ministry or department or agency and prioritize with the sense of the economy, with the sense of infrastructure, with the sense of good governance. What can you do without even money? The charge is, what on the spot can you achieve, even without the use of funds? And this is usually in the area of attitude, motivation, morale. What can we do? What sensitization can we give our ministries, departments, and agencies, so that we are in the right frame of mind to imbibe the time is now. Whatever you can do now, you don't relegate till tomorrow.
It's quite important, and I like that conviction and passion,
yes,
to do those things even without money. You know that at the end of every month, all the states in the federation, cap in hand, are going to Abuja, and resource availability is a function of what you do. And with so much you have said,
yes,
what is the magic? What is the possibility?
The magic resides in the people, God helping us. The magic is when we agree and resolve that Plateau can no longer, remain as you know it. Our psyche will now propel our action. Government is saying we are ready with the laws. We are ready to give the environment, the conducive environment. We are ready to do our own part. So every leader at every level must, and I underline must, if you want to survive under the time is now, you must sit up. You must do the bidding of the time is now. There's no time to waste, and we cannot allow our economy to remain in shambles, our physical infrastructure to keep on decaying, and no maintenance, no improvement whatsoever. The time is now, to turn around.
So how well are Plateau people being carried on board? Are they also being onboarded? Because
it's important.
Recently, the Elders Council was reconstituted.
Very well.
And the governor had an interface with youths.
Yes.
I can't remember whether anything has happened with women, but perhaps it's going in the pipelines.
Yeah.
The reconstitution of the elders, people have asked, should elders form themselves, or should government form Elders Council? In some climes it becomes like a yes voice for government, that people go and take tea and then they cannot look the governor in the eye and say, Mr. Governor, this thinking is wrong. This is what we need to do. What kind of Elders Council and youths are you envisaging to help cascade the vision down and also to support?
Very well. Surprisingly, it's as if you were in the meeting yourself. That issue was tackled. How do we guarantee the independence of these elders? Because of the benefit of hindsight, the elders shouldn't be just a hired crowd. No, it was discussed, and the governor laid bare his thoughts that he needs the advice. He needs elders that can look him in the eye, sit him down, on account of their age, on account of their experience, on account of their passion and patriotism for the sake of Plateau. He is not looking for a rubber stamp Elders Council. And as you said, he has the same appetite, for the youth. Because the meeting with the youth was first, some elders began to imagine that they are going to be relegated. So in a way, it was some form of balancing. And as you pointed out, that of the women is in the pipeline. The governor has an appetite for holistic, development on the Plateau. And just like the UN system says, leaving no one behind. The governor does not want to leave elders out of his government and his decisions and his policies. He doesn't want to leave the youth. In fact, you can see some of his policies, even in appointments. Nobody above, very few are above 60 in the cabinet.
Is there anyone 35 years? by UN convention?
I think there are. I haven't done that study yet, but it will interest. We have pretty young people in the cabinet, sincerely.
Okay, let me just add something quickly. In the past, what I have seen continuously is that elders of a particular party are the ones called Elders Council. And people have wondered whether those elders represent the general interest or party interest. Because at moments of critical moments, they don't speak. These elders that were reconstituted, are they from the ruling party or they cut across diverse interests in the state?
Very, very important. It was a collection, a meeting of all Plateau elders, irrespective of their persuasions, political or party persuasions, irrespective of their ethnic credentials. This was for all. And you could see the composition. Everybody that qualified, federal PAMSECs were there, former SSGs were there, whatever regime, ambassadors were there, retired, the former governors were there. They were invited, some sent in apologies, but it was an open house for all Plateau elders. In fact, we were blessed by the presence of one of the oldest, Baba Yahaya Kwande was there.
Ambassador.
Yes, ambassador. At his age, he came in, and it will surprise you that the man is still very sound, 90-something. And that Plateau spirit, when you hear him speak with passion about Plateau, something is firing this Baba. And all the governors, they call him Baba Bokos, was there. Atukum, Baba Jam was there, and very many people were there across board. So Plateau transcends your party interest and inclination.
Well,
yes,
definitely a conversation with you is not going to take 30 minutes. More than 30 minutes is required. But before we go on, one issue is about peace and security. Can you briefly tell us steps being taken? Because it's a recurring decimal since 2001, and it's the bad news that we lose lives, properties, and the rest of them. And it's also, the governor said, it's a strategy to demarket Plateau State.
Very well.
So what is engagement to mitigate this? We can't say we bring it to an end.
Well, I can tell you for free that two approaches are on the table. The kinetic, using the military, armed forces and the rest. And there's the non-kinetic, the people themselves, communities themselves, NGOs and the rest, non-kinetic. Basically, in the kinetic approach, the governor has been insisting we must work with the right narrative about what is going on the plateau. Loud and clear. The idea of clashes happening somewhere is just a fallacy. The idea that communities are fighting themselves is not true. This is an imposition of terror. Insurgency has penetrated, and people are being driven off their ancestral lands. Land grabbing, territorial expansionism. That is, we must work with the correct narrative on the plateau. He has said it loud and clear. Therefore, the kinetic approach must take into cognizance the definition of what is going on. You are not just sending people to come and watch while others are slaughtered at night. And for whatever reason. The non-kinetic has to do with the reorganization and mobilization of the communities on their own. Let us organize, let us become more vigilant, with the support of community structures like Operation Rambo.
Okay, I think that we need to expand on that scope in subsequent conversations so that people understand clearly where we're headed to. Operation Rainbow, that's where we'll be starting our conversation next time when we come again. And this is the much we can take. Okay. Honorable Sam GODONGS, DG, Research and Documentation Governor's Office. Yes. We thank you very much for availing yourself, and we look forward to seeing more of you as we try to bring people on board.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
you very much, and you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Viewers, that's the much we can take on this program, and next week we'll be here again. I will promise to sustain the conversation with the DG so that there is a clear understanding of people, of the issues, the template, because at the NIP retreat, 3 thematic areas, 10 sub-themes, and other 28. So we'll be looking at these issues one by one so that you have a clear understanding and follow them clearly. And other government officials will be coming in to speak their minds about these issues. Thank you. I remain yours sincerely, Yakubutani.